We ask our waiting staff to, in the morning, in the weekend, when they welcome guests, whether they want a cappuccino or even start with a mimosa as a fixed welcome to every guest. Would you like a mimosa to start with? And what you then see is then let's say out of the 10 people, 8 will say no and 2 will say yes. And before you know it, everybody's on the mimosas, because when they see the first table, then the other table go, oh, that's nice. Oh, let's go for it.
Welcome to the F&B Advantage, part of the Future of Hospitality podcast. My name is Gabi, and my guest today is Michiel Huisman, co-founder of Teds Brunch. Together with his wife, he built a concept that doesn't think in breakfast, lunch, or dinner, but in moments. And 10 years, this idea feels more relevant than ever. Welcome, Michiel.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So, yeah, I'm really hyped that you have a really entrepreneurial lens and you build platforms, restaurants, and we can dive into everything. But before we get there, let's start simple. When people meet you for the first time, how do you describe what you spend your time doing?
Yeah. We feel that we are still building into a hobby that originated 10 years ago, which started really small with one restaurant, and which has now grown into a group of restaurants of almost 16 locations open. Which we do based on the premise and the idea that my wife had 10 years ago, Sanne, when she was walking in as a guest in Amsterdam hospitality venues, that she noticed that when she would come in at somewhere at 11 a.m., that it wasn't possible to order lunch yet, or at 3 p.m. the lunch was already gone. People were looking strange if you would want some champagne for your breakfast or some mimosas, but people don't know who is having their weekend, and how your day works and how your day is going. So she basically came up with the idea, okay, so we should limit a little bit the rules that people have, or that there were currently in place. And she
Mhm.
felt the best way to describe that was to offer brunch, because brunch feels a little bit the in-between moment that you can do before lunch or after lunch or whenever, and
Mhm.
is a moment on hospitality where you can basically serve a little bit extra and have some nice drinks on the side, and really have a nice leisurely moment, and not as functional as people do. And that's the philosophy where we are building on, and we hope to have a lot of more locations than we currently have.
Yeah, it's super awesome. And I think it's interesting, like you said, don't know when people have their weekends or not. But what was the moment when you realized that this all day brunch could be more than just a fun idea? Because now, 10 years later, it's so big. When did you decide, well, this has a really big potential?
I think after the first summer, so when we initially started, it took a little bit of while for people to get acquainted, and then
Hmm.
before we knew it, it really started to gain traction. So initially we were like hyped and psyched and really enthusiastic, and then we were like, okay, so we need to figure out if they will still be coming in 6 months, or then if the hype then really goes really fast.
Hmm.
And just kept on coming. So then we thought, okay, let's try whether or not it would work in another city. So we went to Utrecht as our second location. And then we really came across the differences in cities in terms of the acceptance of specific concepts. So people were unaware what a French toast was, to name an example. So we noticed, okay, so this is a nice, let's say, entrepreneurial learning, that not everything works the way that things work in Amsterdam. Uh,
Hmm.
and then when there also we started to gain more and more traction, we really thought, okay, so there is this really nice target group and target audience of, let's say, mostly females that really want to take time and see other people during the day, whereas
Hmm.
the, let's say, masculine side really looks each other up, let's say at 5 or 6 p.m. when with some beers and bitterballen. So we are a little bit more. I think the masculine side is a little bit more boring. Um, so when we noticed that the second location also started to gain traction, then we were like, okay, so why not one more? And we basically continued to do that, and yeah, so we always basically say, okay, it was a hobby, and then got a little bit out of hand. So that's where we are.
Super interesting. And it's cool, right, that your hobby is your work and that you can just do that every day, I think.
For sure.
Yeah. What is in that moment when you're like building this new concept and going through other cities, like certain decisions that stayed with you and that, yeah, really helped shape Ted's Brunch in the current state?
So I think that for us, absolutely crucial is the way that we try to color a little bit outside the line. So that means that we are really informal, and that means that that needs to work in all aspects of your, let's say, of your service. So
Mm-hmm.
in product offering, but also in the way that people communicate with you. So our staffing is absolutely crucial in this, and also to make sure that everything in every location that you visit has its own identity,
Mm-hmm.
uh, rather than being a complete copy of the last one, because then it really becomes that you feel that you are basically being pulled through, let's say, a too structured service plan,
Yes.
and which we of course have, because we offer this whole idea. Okay, what would be the perfect guest experience? But we
Mm-hmm.
also know that that it's really relevant that people feel comfortable and welcomed, and people are, let's say, authentic also in the way that they work with you. So it's really we really look in all aspects that everybody and everything has a little bit of Ted's vibe. Um, and that goes from the music being a little bit too loud at our locations, rather than to be a little bit too soft, and all those
Mm-hmm.
aspects. There are a lot of little things.
Yeah. But what would you say, like, when someone walks into Ted's for the first time, what do you hope they feel?
But I do hope they feel that abundance, I think, is a little bit, and really a leisurely feel. So what we our mission or our idea is a little bit, okay, have a little bit feeling of the weekend every day.
Mm-hmm.
The way that we look at it and anticipate it when we open a menu, we still feel that, okay, so it's difficult to choose between the things that we offer. And there are always things on our menu where you go like, okay, I think I'm not sure whether or not they're going to like it, but it looks really nice, so let's try it. And in terms of the way that it's always a little bit of bustling feeling in our locations,
Mm-hmm.
because even during the day, so the Netherlands is not really a breakfast country. So what you notice
Mm-hmm.
from locations between, let's say, 9:30 up to 11, it starts to welcome its first round, and then but when you come in for basically for what the Dutchies think of lunch, basically at
Mm-hmm.
noon, have their sandwiches. Yeah, then at almost all our locations, you'll see that there's already, yeah, we're already in our midst of our second round of guests. So there's a lot of things happening. It's always a little bit crowded and crazy. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we really like. That's what we really like it as an aspect of it, because that really is the way that we feel that's really is.
Yeah, and how, because you're saying it's sometimes a little bit, yeah, you already had your second round, so it is a different operational flow. How do you guys, yeah, optimize this as well, being the chill and the relaxing Teds that you are?
Yeah. So for us, so we are a little bit in between. So you have a little bit more the evening side of hospitality. Basically, works with, let's say, average spend that they hope to achieve between, let's say, 50 100 euros. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
for us, this average spend is lower, just due to not the amount of food that you eat, but still the perception of, let's say, also that guess that lunch is cheaper than dinner. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so we strive for an average spend of, let's say, 25 euros per person,
Mm-hmm.
which we then, if you look at the amount of chairs that we have, means that that at some locations, specifically in the weekend, we have every seat is will be filled at least 4 times, because also the amount of, luckily also the amount of guests that want to work or stay and visit us, but also
Mm-hmm.
the amount of revenue we need to make it all worth our while, because you just need, if your spend is lower, you need more quantity to make it to reach your revenue goals.
Yeah, that's totally true. And I'm also interested in, like, how do you do the menu then? Because how you're doing the whole day, the whole day brunch. How did you design the menu so it would be optional or like optimal for the kitchen, but also profitable, but also keep your concept, yeah, alive in that sense.
Yeah, so the good story would be is that we have a really really scientific approach to this. The
Mm-hmm.
actual story is that basically the menu is devised by whatever son of should be on the menu. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Being the let's say the concept owner of that, she's responsible for, let's say, all the decoration of all locations, and also the creation of all the recipes, of which of course we get help from the chefs and people that work with us. Uh,
Yeah.
but what we try to have a broad menu that allows for service throughout the day. But of course, also here in the past 10 years, there have been sufficient moments that we thought, okay, this would work, and then figured out that it really either became too impractical or really
Mm-hmm.
was a problem in the, yeah, let's say the time that it will take to create something and all those things.
Yeah.
Uh, but it ended up, so if we look now, we're really kind of happy with the things that we have. We only look to expand a little bit more in the afternoon offering,
Mm-hmm.
and to make some a little bit of to make this a little bit into some commercial. We also just launched our own cookbook last week. So for those who are a little bit interested to see, okay, what are the recipes of things that they offer, it's available at the all day brunch cookbook at bol.com. So ta-da, so too.
Yeah. So people at home, please go buy the book and maybe make it.
Oh, by the recipe book, or come visit our restaurant, which is even.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you started with we're focusing more on the female side, more women are coming in. And I know as a woman we love to Instagram and make photos of our food and etc. Do you also take that, like how intentional is the visual side of the dishes when you design a menu?
It is important, but we also know. So for us, it's a little bit in between. So at the one hand, yes, it all needs to be Instagrammable, but on the other side, it also means for us that it still needs to be. We don't have the time to spend 10 minutes on each individual plate, because then people will start to nag that they need to wait too long for their food. So where others really use up to flowers to decorate their dishes, we don't go that
Mhm.
far. But we do feel that every dish should look lavendish with. So, and basically, my wife says the soul of each dish is the sauce that you serve it with, or in, or under. So
Mhm.
those are things we take to heart. We always do things with poached eggs. They should be runny, and if we notice that, because you cannot see that on the outside when you poach them. But if we see that
Mhm.
there's sometimes when you serve one which is a little bit over poached, then we take them back. We offer new poached eggs, because those are things that we really find, yeah, they're in our core values even.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that you're saying core value because when I hear this story of Tats and how it started, it's for me it feels really about freedom. The concept is freedom, and the reason why I'm saying that is what you said about your wife. She wanted to have lunch, and you want to have lunch whenever you want, etc. So freedom is something that I really feel. And how important is the idea of freedom in time, vibe, and choice for guests? You think?
Well, I think so. I think that there are so when we started 10 years ago, there weren't that many people doing anything with brunch. So and then when we were down a few years down the line, and we then back then still had pancakes, banana pancakes on our menu. And then at some point, everybody was started to do pancakes, and we felt like, okay, so now the pancakes is starting to become a concept rather than
Mm-hmm.
that's a concept. So we try to stay. So that for us was basically that we said, okay, it's not time to move on and go on and try something else and something new.
Mm-hmm.
We try to surprise, and we try to feel that basically it should be welcoming in such a sense to come at our location, that you feel like, okay, this is not going to be a functional dish, and that's a nice part out of it. uh,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much to choose, there are so many restaurants. So uh, we just try to stay a little bit humble and see that we try to come up with the nice dishes and a nice interior for people to welcome people to come to our place rather than to go to the neighbors.
Hmm. Would you say more is more or less is more in this?
More is more and less is a board. That's one of our slogans everywhere on.
Yeah.
No, so now for really, so and for us, and some people might find it that okay, maybe that also might some people find too typical, but we actually do service trainings where we ask our waiting staff to in the morning, in the weekend when they welcome guests, whether they want a cappuccino or even start with a mimosa as a fixed welcome to every guest. Would you like a mimosa to start with? And what you then see is then let's say out of the 10 people, 8 will say no and 2 will say yes. And before you know it, everybody's on the mimosas because when they see the first table, then the other table go, oh, that's nice. Oh, let's go for it. Oh, it's a nice day. It's
Hmm.
Sunday, or it's nice weather outside, or we have a weekend off without the kids, or we're about to go shopping, which is nice, or we're celebrating a moment, which is also nice. So we really try to amplify that part of it.
Yeah, I love that. Is there something because your guys are doing things really differently in a sense, like the all day concept, mimosas at 9 o'clock. It is kind of breaking barriers that we currently have traditional. Like, what could traditional restaurants learn from the approach you and Ted are doing?
So I think that you really start need to look for something that is really what intrinsically motivates you to serve, so that it's
Mm-hmm.
really something where you are enthusiastic about. So for me, I could never go and be enthusiastic about whatever the service of name an example, the um, a sandwich with roast beef and whatever, because it's for me as something that's basically something that you would give everywhere. But if you are whatever you are really enthusiastic about eggs or about croissants or about whatever, so people notice the fact whether or not you're doing it because you have the idea that you read it somewhere as a trend and you need to do it, or that is something that
Mm-hmm.
you feel like, okay, this is me. And that's basically what we feel, and what Son also really feels in the extension from all the interiors of all the restaurants and the menu, is that it's the way that we feel is the nicest way. And you're
Mm-hmm.
welcome to have your own opinion, whatever. But we try to do two things: is to be really have a surface side first. So we will never be we will never make the decision. Okay, we now decide for our guests that we only will do. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we will stop with serving meat, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
we feel that we want to cater for everyone. So for us, there's hygiene in our menu, that we always have some nice vegan dishes. We always have some nice gluten alternatives. We always have. So we source everything as much as possible locally, biologically. We have all our meat is halal. For us,
Mm-hmm.
that is the way that we feel. Okay, so those are the rules that you need to live by in modern hospitality. But we don't
Mm-hmm.
to basically advocate, okay, come here because you should be eating this or you should be drinking that. So we try to be coming and let the people decide, and just keep it fun.
Yeah, I love that. And would you say it is maybe a trend, or is it a shift where we see that customers want more freedom instead of more guidance on the menus and the moments?
I think partly so, but sometimes I read trends that that you basically read, okay, we're going into smaller dishes and Ozempic style and whatever, and
Mm,
then we are serving shared brunches at that weekend that I go like, oh,
mm,
but you don't know, so you don't. So for us, it's the same. I know from already, let's say from almost 10 years ago, we were that we were serving, let's say, French young French girls coming to Amsterdam, where I would say, okay, they share a croissant, and that's a hard much more they will not be able to eat, and they would
yeah,
eat our menu, and you would go like, but I don't know. Some people, so if people skip their breakfast, I don't know whether or not they're
yeah.
doing intermittent fasting or whatever. Maybe to do one meal a day.
Mm,
Want to do is from our point of view is that if you have the things that with us, it should be that you go like, ah, this was nice.
yeah, yeah. And like I said, I think freedom is a big word that I'm hearing coming up. It's like freedom about what you eat, but also freedom about when you eat. And I think that's something maybe where we really see a behavioral change with the customers going there. And would you say maybe that based on that, we maybe are breaking the barrier of traditional breakfast and lunch and diner structures?
Now, and so I do feel that it becomes so shifts that I do foresee is that dinner really becomes an, let's say, 7 8 p.m. onwards thing. So early dinner
Mm,
really I think will require a different type of offering than basically real sit down 3 course meal, because
mm,
if you want, price wise, you want to really, I think, have the idea that you then spend an entire evening, and then the costs are, let's say, in line with the spend of an entire evening rather than just for 1.5 hours a quick meal. So
mm,
and there's a lot more, I think, offering in, let's say, um, not more functional but fun, let's say, stuff, from burger
mhm,
places to what kind of fast Italian concepts and everything. So those will take a place for people who want to spend their money still in hospitality, but want to do the limit, the, let's say, the food part to a, let's say, a smaller
mhm,
aspects, and then basically have more time of more money for drinks. So I think people
mhm,
are thinking more about the what where they're going to spend it on because of the increase in price. So
mhm,
not so everything it's getting more expensive, but people are also having more money. So it's so I want to stay away a little bit from that. Hospitality is getting too expensive, but
mhm,
it's going to be. I think that the let's say out of home food offering is increasing so much
mhm,
that there is yeah, you're basically now have your yeah, your how do you say it, your competition from the goes from, let's say, retailer to city spar to uh,
mhm.
out of, let's say, smaller concepts and grab and
Yeah,
go concepts, and
yeah,
especially concept, because yeah, so last year it was the buns, the year before it was the kroffin, and
mhm,
we'll see what this year will bring. But I do think that those hypes will continue to come and go, uh,
mhm,
that it does really all cater to a, wherever you want, wherever you are, whenever you feel like it, you can have things that you crave, and that basically,
mhm.
so yeah, works a little bit in our philosophy as well, because that's a little bit the way that we look at food ourselves as well.
Yeah, and you're already doing this philosophy for 10 years. Your guys are expanding and you're going to different cities. So that's super cool. But I'm really curious, how do you guys do it? Because you have a philosophy that's really, really nice and you want to bring that to different city, different city, different city. What are like the processes that you do when you go into a new city?
So initially, it starts off with finding a right location, and for us, right
Mm,
location is not necessarily, let's say, the most busy shopping street, because we are a little bit more in eat in than grab and go. But
mm-hmm,
so we have, let's say, a list with cities where we want to be. Those need to be 100K and over in terms of inhabitants. Uh,
mm-hmm,
we are looking in that we feel that all the, for us, relevant target groups. So it should be, there should be sufficient young people. It should be so there needs to be either a university or a hogeschool, or there needs to be. So that's what we're looking at, and then yeah, basically there is a long list of cities where you can then go, and we are now looking into those locations where we feel that we can really find that we can have staffing in order, and that we have operational side or and the logistical side set up.
mm-hmm,
Um, so next month we will be opening one more location in Amsterdam and a location more in Breda. So where we, and both cities we already have Ted's location, so it will be an add-on.
mm-hmm,
But that's not a requirement. It's more that we feel that we should find a location where we think that it has the, let's say, the connection and the feel when you walk into it, that you feel like, okay, this is not let's say, an average location that you can find at tons of places, but it has its own specific feel, and then it needs to meet all our, let's say, more hard requirements in terms of rent, seats, square
Yeah.
meters. It needs to be on a corner. It needs to have a terrace. It needs to, yeah. So that's basically, I think, what everybody wants and longs and looks for. And then
Yeah.
for we go into a new location, so we'll just, yeah, we'll try out, and we'll talk to influencers, and we welcome everybody to have an opinion and to post it online. And then basically it's judges are out, the jury is out, and then you'll see whether or not people like it or not. And luckily, up to now, everybody then likes it and welcomes it, and then you work from there.
Yeah, and what is also you already have so many locations. How do you keep the team do like have the restaurants, for example, have like systems or habits to make daily operations go smoother, for
Yeah,
example?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, last 3 years we have been investing a lot in our organizational structure. So every location has a location leader and a number of shift leaders. Then there is a regional manager that basically challenges the location leader to make sure that all the processes are being followed. We use a lot of, let's say, digital communication for this as well.
Mm-hmm.
With let's say also with small learnings and with small e-learnings and you name it, next to
Yeah.
technical support and service trainings on all the locations.
Yeah.
And then every month or 6 weeks, we have all the managers come back, and we'll have specific topics that we'll discuss with them.
Mm-hmm.
Also for them to let them exchange information amongst themselves as well. So there's a number of things that we do, and but it all started with, yeah, basically us writing down, okay, what would be the ultimate guest journey, and what
Mm-hmm.
does this mean. So if this is the guest journey, if our guest journey is that we want to have a 11-dish menu where you can, let's say, choose between 12 different types of coffee, yeah, then we
Mm-hmm.
create a service menu where we say, okay, everybody needs to have a drink within 3 minutes, because if there's a
Yeah.
group coming in from eight people, and they choose 8 different types of specialty coffee, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't work for them. Yeah, we don't have a full automatic machine, so it won't be there. It won't be in the table on the table in
Yeah.
within 3 minutes. So then it becomes okay. Whenever they sit down, we ask them for their drink, for their warm drink, or for their drink of choice. But we also need to
Mm-hmm.
ask, okay, do you already want some water? And that means
Yeah.
if they say, okay, can we just have some tap water? We'll say yes, because we won't be going, okay, so then you need to wait for your warm drink, because we know that it will take a while, and we want people to feel welcome and have at least something to drink. So everything that you choose has impact on other choices, and we try
Mm-hmm.
to have let's say, a service plan that really works. And
Mm-hmm.
that means that we are basically challenging this in ourselves every month to improve, because there are also tons of things that go wrong at our locations, because you work with people, and you work with
Yeah.
food, and you work with, yeah, with guests that also are not always the nicest, because everybody's always bitching about staff. Part of my French, but you also sometimes just have guests that really are either hangry. We always say, okay, this person was probably hangry. Let it go, and next one will
Mm.
go better, because it's also, yeah, that's just how things go, because it's still hospitality.
Yeah, yeah, no, sometimes guests can be like a pain in the ass, right? You are doing your best and then they are just criticizing everything. But let's look at the positive guest.
For sure.
Already we're talking about the guest journey. I think the guest journey is like, yeah, it's like the user journey and it gives some feeling, right? We know if people are coming in, they're probably touristy, so we give them water, etc. Would you say that maybe guests are more loyal to the feeling, the guest journey, rather than the menu and the physical product?
So I think, and we've been working with, done quite a lot of trainings with this, also with, let's say, external counsel.
Mm-hmm.
uh, the open, it is really, I think, such an open door that everybody says it is, because it's the first smile and the first welcome, and that you are welcomed. It's the
Mm-hmm.
surprise to have during your stays. Any bit of a surprise can be a talk where you don't expect it, can be whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say a side of a brownie next to your coffee, which you didn't expect, or it can be the way that your food is prepared. So I think you need to have something that basically triggers the mind, that goes like, okay, hey, this was different. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the way that you say goodbye, because if you because if you leave without proper goodbye, then you'll walk out and you still go like, okay, I didn't know what to expect and whatever. Uh,
Yeah.
and that the and it's hygiene what needs to be on the plate, but it needs to be, if you if you're looking into, okay, so why would people come back? People will always come back for a smile, but if they need to come back for a smile, then they need to be in the area. If you want them to get on the bike or in the car or on a plane or in a train to visit
Hmm.
you, then there needs to be something special on the table as well, something that they feel
Yeah.
they cannot have on another location. Uh,
Hmm.
and that can be because it's a really, it can be a sauce, it can be whatever, but it's I think that that is really for us still the USP should be in the combination, because if it's just, if you have generic food and
Hmm.
service, then people will still come back to you whenever they are around, but they won't step in the
Hmm.
car, come up and to have an average whatever dish they can have anywhere else.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's what you need to have something unique, but also the emotional payoff for the guest needs to be big, right? The smile to come back is a really, really important thing. Do you think the industry is maybe focusing on that already, or they should focus maybe more on that?
So the problem is, I feel, in the industry is that the industry is. Um, I think that the main worry that we have as an industry is that there are not sufficient people wanting to work in this industry with an intrinsic motivation to work in this industry.
Yeah.
So the amount of people that we also, so I don't really care about your technical skills, but you need to be intrinsically motivated to work
Hmm.
in reality, because otherwise you will not be able to look people in their eye and feel and make a connection and feel and say, hey, how are you doing and how do you feel and welcome
Mm.
to our location. So, and if you cannot do that, if that becomes unreal because of the fact that you do it only because you need money or only because you whatever, uh,
Yeah.
then there's a problem. And I think that the amount of people who are intrinsically motivated, uh,
Hmm.
we we can have discussions that they need to go up even a little bit and earn a little bit, still a little bit more or still a little bit less or whatever.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the whole problem at this moment in the Netherlands is there is insufficient people who will determine for themselves, hospitality is my career of choice, and I feel
Yeah.
that because I've had a number of different type of companies, a lot of tech focus with a lot of developers and things, and or technical marketing things and whatever, and I feel, for myself, I think that you can get most out of life if you feel that you make connection with other people and that they are actually happy with. So we have had people that worked with us where we at some point needed to say, okay, if you prefer to stay behind your laptop than work with our guests as a manager, then
Mm.
you're not the manager that needs to work with us, because nothing really happens within that laptop. It happens with your guests on the floor. So those are things that I think are the things where we need to not, yeah, what we need to focus on is getting more people enthusiastic to work in hospitality. And if
Hmm.
you have them, I think you need to, yeah, we need to stop make it, yeah, then the difficulty is to how do you keep them? And that
Yeah.
means they need to have make the, yeah, and specifically the ones for us on those locations that are really busy. Yeah, then you really need to spend, yeah, it really can be hard working. So then if you need to do that 4 days in a row, then yeah, afterwards I can understand that you need a break. So don't let those people work 6, 7 days a week and
Yeah.
work them over the hours that you want them. And we also had these discussions in the past where we say, okay, hey, I want to work less days, so can I work full time, but then in 3 or in 4 days, I can make
Mm.
long days, but you just see people just going down in terms of the way that they can connect with their guests. And that I think is should be crucial.
Yeah, super interesting, and it's something that is playing in the whole industry, in the hospitality industry, like having those Dutch tiger, like the Horeca tigers, which is a Dutch term for hospitality tigers that really love the job and really go into it and want to work with the people. And I'm really like looking and curious on how that will change because there is kind of a crisis on that part. And we always close the Future of Hospitality podcast with a question about the future, of course. And my question to you is what kind of dining experience do you believe will feel outdated in 10 years from now?
Feel outdated.
Yeah.
Ooh. Uh, yeah, so and 10 years is a long way. So you can, yes. I just recently was reading more along that we are now moving into again the, let's say, the Dutch classics with Stamppot and whatever. I think that everything is connected to, let's say, um, a lot of aspects that will happen in that time. So I do feel that if the meat prices are going to continue to rise as they're doing right now, then I really feel that eating out will have less to do with meat and will have more to do with, let's say, another type of thing having the base, making up the base of the dish. So either pasta or pizza or rice or potatoes or whatever.
Mm,
Because at some point I feel that you cannot, if you go out for dinner, you need to pay 40 euros for, let's say, a small steak of 180 grams with some fries. I think at
yeah,
some point you will start to do those things yourself at home.
yeah,
Uh, and I don't really see this changing really fast into, let's say, into other pricing. So that I don't see that going down really soon. Let's go.
yeah.
Let's look at it like that. And I think at some point there will be less and less really specific specialty stores that then really explode, and that's because of the. I think that the setup and start of something also to get towards a point where okay, I feel that we are a little bit settled and we can handle a little bit of fallback and whatever. That will take that takes a few years. Uh,
Mm.
and I feel that there are a lot of examples of nice, let's say, people that come up with nice, enthusiastic plans and ideas, but it will become more and more difficult with those increasing costs to see that as much as you used to see them in the last few years. Let's say it like that a little bit.
I think that are really interesting views on the future. I want to thank you so much for sharing your perspective and being so open about, yeah, the moments running a restaurant, about 10-year anniversary of Teds, which is awesome. I want to say to the listeners at home, if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe to the Future of Hospitality and join our newsletter. That's where we share more insights for people building and running restaurants, hospitality businesses. This was the FB Advantage. Until next time, and keep questioning the way things have been done.